I'm 18 years old and I don't own a single property. This is exactly how I made £10,720 last month with properties I don't even own. I don't have no rich parents, no inheritance, no nothing, but what I do have is the knowledge and the capability to make money work for me. To make money work for me by renting houses from landlords and subletting it and making monthly cash flow, which allowed me to be speaking to you guys now. So, you may be wondering, Destiny, what do you use these landlords' properties to do? As you can see, I've got 4 HMOs, 1 social housing property, and 2 Airbnbs, which is 7 rent-to-rents in total, which is completely doable in less than a year. So within this video, I'm going to go through step by step on how I utilize each model and how I finally made £10,720 last month with properties that I don't even own. Quick pause, if you want to get started in property, click that red button to stay tuned and to keep up to date with all my new videos. Thank you. So you guys may be wondering, who the hell am I and why should you listen to me? So I'm 18 years old and I started my property journey when I was 16. I went to my first property event at 16, turned 17, got my first Airbnb deal at 17, which made me around £1,000 in profit, then just kept going and kept going, and now made £10,720 last month. So I realized at a young age that I don't need 50, I don't need 30, I don't need 40k down to get a deposit to buy a house that will make me maybe £1,500 a month in revenue and maybe £600 profit. I realized I could just take properties from landlords that I bought houses and sublet them and make money on top of that. So this business model is called rent to rent, and it allowed me to control property without ownership. So everything you'll see today is fully legal, ethical, and completely agreed in writing. I've got a legally binding contract with every single landlord that I have every single property with, and every single social housing provider I do business with, and every single private tenant that I take on, and even every single Airbnb management company that manage my Airbnbs for me. Hence why my profits are a bit low, because I give 15% to my management provider. So if you don't know what this business is already, it's called rent to rent. It's essentially when you take a property from a landlord on behalf of your company, then you sublet it. There's many different ways to make money through rent to rent. You've got your HMO method, which is your rent to HMO. You've got your social housing, which is your rent to social housing. Then you've got your Airbnb, which is your rent to service accommodation. And social housing plays a part in rent to temporary accommodation as well. So there's 4 different ways to make money through rent to rent. What I like to say is, make sure you take on properties that fit in every single one of these avenues, okay? That's why when I look for Airbnbs, I go for houses, okay? When I take on a house, I can do social housing. I've got social housing contracts. I can do temporary accommodation, which I haven't written here. I can also do Airbnb, and I can also do HMO when I rent it out on a room-by-room basis. This is why I'm successful with the properties that I take on, because I don't take on properties based on one avenue. I look in every single avenue to make money in property. And little did you know, I'm the youngest property entrepreneur doing every single avenue of property. You've got your HMO, you've got your social housing, you've got your Airbnb, you've got your temporary accommodation. There's no other 18-year-old doing it like this. There's no other 18-year-old that's got properties in each and every avenue like me, okay? So you're in good hands. So let's start with HMOs, okay? On the far left of this whiteboard, okay? You can see at the top I've got 4 HMO properties. You may be wondering, Destiny, what does HMO stand for? House, multiple occupants. Essentially, you guys I'm speaking to now, ask yourself, how many people is living in your house at the moment, and how many rooms do you have? If you live in a flat and you have 2 rooms, if you live in a house and you have 3 rooms, 4 rooms, 5 rooms, ask yourself, how many rooms do I have in my house? If the answer is 3, those are 3 individual tenants. If the answer is 2, those are 2 individual tenants. If the answer is 5, then that's 5 individual tenants, okay? So basically what the HMO method is, and the business model is essentially when you rent out a room on a room-by-room basis, okay? Say your answer to my question was 3, okay? You've got 3 people living in your house. That's 3 different rooms. Think of it as a mini hotel, okay? You've got each room for let, okay? Say if each room goes for £500 and you're renting a house from a landlord for £750, that's £1,500 for the whole house to be letted out. And then you're paying a landlord £750, maybe your bill's £200, that's around £600 profit on a 3-bedroom house. Okay, this is what I do with each and every single one of my HMO properties. I've got 4 of them. So as you can see on the whiteboard, it's when you have your landlord, you get your property from your landlord, and then you have me, which is the company, then you let it out room by room to private tenants, okay? This method is very good for monthly cash flow or monthly stability, okay? Because you know how much you're making month in, month out, okay? But the reason why I put high risk is because you have to be very compliant. It's very risky. It's very risky to fall into legal issues, legal problems, okay? You have to be very compliant with HMOs, okay? It's very easy to fall into legal issues, as I just said, okay? Because you're looking at fire doors, you're looking at smoke alarms, you're looking at HMO license if it's more than 3-4 bedrooms, okay? More than 3 bedrooms in some areas, but more than 4 bedrooms in the majority of England, okay? This is why HMO is very high risk, because it's very hard to be compliant. So yeah, essentially it's basically when you rent out a house on a room by room basis, each room is a single room for an individual tenant, and you're renting it out to as many tenants that live in that house. So yeah, guys, on the screen now, I've got each and every single one of my HMO properties, okay? You can see December here, okay? It's January, but I just forgot to change the dates, okay? I'll do that now. You can see how I make my money through HMOs. So you can see this house here, 194, it's got a 5-bedroom house, okay? And one of the rooms is empty, so actually I would have made more money if I actually filled that room, okay? You can see the average room price at the bottom is £511. So I'm making averagely £511 per room, okay? Another property here, 76 Broadfield Road. This property here is making me £1,945. Okay, this room's fully booked, no empty rooms, so this is the maximum money I can make from this house. You can see on the bottom, the average rent for each room is £486. This varies between room sizes, if it's near a bathroom, if it's an ensuite, if it's not, okay? Then you can see here, another one of my houses, sorry. You can see one of the rooms is empty, so I'm making £1,360 from this one property here that's got one empty room. So here is my biggest rent to date. This is a 6-bedroom, 6 flats in Morrington, okay? You can see the average flat room is £685. In total is £3,425 I'm getting per month for this one property, okay? And that's in revenue. Profit is around 1.7k profit. When this room's filled, I'm looking at 2.5k profit, okay? So if we add each and every one of these rooms up, we're looking at around £7,415 last month in revenue, 5 grand-ish profit, okay? So you can see how you can utilize HMOs to make money, and that's from 4 properties only, okay? And it's not hard to get 4 HMO properties. But the only problem with these HMO properties is that you have to be compliant, okay? You have to have your fire doors if it's more than 3 bedrooms. You have to have your smoke alarms. You have to make sure your fire exits are efficient. There's a lot of things that come into compliance. Each room has to be a certain size. You have to be 6.5 square meters if it's a 1 bedroom and 10.22 if it's a 2 bedroom. Fortunately, I don't have any 2 bedrooms, so I don't need to worry about the large room sizes, but each room has to be more than 6.5 square meters, okay? You just have to be compliant, okay? And this is why I'm saying HMO is very high risk. So you may be wondering, Destiny, how do I get my first HMO deal, okay? The same way you'd get your first social housing, your first Airbnb deals, going on an open market, registering your company and inquiring into properties on behalf of your company rather than a usual AST. Okay, and this is how you acquire these properties. As you can see, I've got 4 HMO properties, 1 social housing property, and 2 Airbnb properties. I'm going to put a screenshot of all my HMO payments for this month. Now, I take money privately from my private tenants and HMOs, from my management, social housing, management, Airbnb as well. So you guys can see I'm fully transparent with you guys on all the payments will be on there. If you want to pause the screen on each and every one of the payments and count up the rent, you can do that. Bearing in mind, when I first took on the property, I made £14,830. You may be wondering, Destiny, how? How are you making £14,000 by taking on a property? Okay, by taking on each and every one of these 4 properties, because each tenant, little do you know, each tenant that move in, they have to pay the deposit as well. The same way when you take on this property or any property, you have to pay the first month rent and the first month deposit. Each and every single one of these tenants pay me first month rent and first month deposit as well. So as you can see on the spreadsheet that I just showed you a minute ago, if you take in each and one of these tenants, you times their monthly rent by 2, and that's how much they pay to get the keys to the room, okay? So actually, when I first took on all these 4 properties, I made nearly £15,000. So that's HMO. Let's move on to social housing and how I utilize and how I make money through social housing. And this is extremely low risk and extremely high stability. It's a very laid back and a very chilled business model, essentially. These HMOs are very hectic. A lot of issues occur. Maybe one tenant may not pay rent, but the good thing about HMOs is that cash flow is very good. So because of that, you have to be very smart with who you take as your tenants within your HMO. But social housing, you don't have to worry at all because these government bodies are paying you month in, month out, no voids, no nothing. Essentially, the same guarantees you're giving to the landlord when you take on a property on a company let is what a social housing provider is giving you. They essentially take care of the property, they take care of any damages that the tenants obviously inflicts the property with. They take care of any electric, gas, or your utility bills. They take care of everything. All you have to do is give them a property that matches their standard and matches their specifics they're looking for, and they'll give you a set rate on the property. You may be wondering, Destiny, why do social housing providers pay you? Why don't they go on the open market and find a property themselves? This is because they'll rather pay you a fixed rate every single month, month in, month out, than pay the hotel crazy prices each day, which may stack up to like 3 months rent that they could be paying you for a month, okay? So one is cheaper for them, and two is more efficient for them, okay? Creates less hassle, they don't have to move tenants around and all sorts. So this is why social housing is very high stability, because they know how much money you're making week in, week out, month in, month out, rather than HMOs where one of the tenants may just not pay you. You get issues like that. That's why you have to be very specific with who you pick for your tenancy, okay? Just know that the tenant needs the property, you don't need a tenant, okay? When you have that in your mind, you'll be very selective at what tenants you take, okay? I prefer international students because they tend to pay on time rather than your odd, tenant. So yeah, that's social housing. So last month I made £1,266 with my social housing provider. I'll put the screenshot on the screen now. And yeah, so that's social housing. And you may be wondering, Destiny, how do I find social housing providers? It's very easy. So what you have to do, you go on a government website and just type registered social housing providers. Okay, the first thing that comes up, give that a click. Updated monthly, click the first document you see, then you scroll down, and these are all social housing providers that you can contact. So essentially what you're looking for is a social housing provider in your area. Put them up on Safari and look for their contact number. For example, Aspire House Unlimited, that's copy, new browser, paste, number, give them a ring, and ask them what properties they're looking for. If you have a property that you already have, ask them if it's in their criteria, and so on. They'll give you a fixed rate on how much they'll take the property on. The amount you pay the rent to what they give you is your monthly cash flow. So that's how you make money with social housing. Even HMO is not very hard. The problem is getting a property, which is extremely easy for me because I have the contacts and the knowledge to get properties. Because once you get your first one, then it's really just a rinse and repeat method. So let's move on to Airbnb, which is basically the golden word of property, the thing everyone wants to get into. Let's move on. So Airbnb, you have the landlord, to me, the company, to your guest, okay? So Airbnb, as you know, you get a property, you renovate it, get hotel standards, etc., etc., etc. Then you rent it out on booking.com, Airbnb on a fixed rate, management company if you want longer term bookings to contractors, etc. As you can see, I put medium risk on Airbnb. The risk is just if you're decorating it enough, if you're staging it well. Okay, you can see this property I'm in now, this apartment I'm in now. This could be a very good Airbnb if I was to stage it and put it on their third-party websites, but it's whether or not staging. Staging is the dependent factor on how much your risk is, on how risky your property is, and the amount you're spending to your profits is. So that just depends on you. If you're staging it well, then you will have extremely low risk, okay? I put medium stability because you're not knowing how much money you're making month in, month out. Last month I made £2,039, slow month. Prime month I'll double that. So summer I'll double that, okay? So little do you know, Airbnb is the highest cash flow rent-to-rent method. It's more cash flow than your HMOs, more cash flow than your social housing providers. The reason why I made so little last month is just because the slow season is a dry month. I didn't get no long-term bookings, which I normally get with these properties because I target them with the way the property is laid out. And yeah, that's Airbnb. I've got 2 Airbnbs and I made £2,039 last month. I'll put the screenshot on the screen. Yeah guys, that's how I made money from each and every single method. So what we're going to go through now is the big problem, the big question. Destiny, how do you get the properties? Okay, I'm going to go through a quick step-by-step guide on how to secure these properties so you can get yourself started in each and every one of these avenues. So the first thing, set up your company on Company House, okay? Once your company is set up and you're fully compliant, you're fully legal, you can start inquiring for properties on behalf of your company rather than your standard AST, okay? That's when that quick question comes in, okay? Isn't this illegal? Isn't this that? Isn't that? It's because people are thinking you're subletting on a standard AST. That's when it's completely illegal. But if you're doing it on behalf of your company, like each and every single one of these avenues, that's when it's completely legal. So step 1, create your company to make everything legal. Step 2, choose your avenue, okay? When I first started, I got 1 Airbnb. 1 Airbnb turned into 2 HMOs, 2 HMOs turned into 1 social housing, that turned into another 2 HMOs, then that turned into another Airbnb, okay? I've got myself in each and every one of these avenues, okay? So choose your avenue. Say if you want to do social housing, you want to start looking on the registered social housing list and look for providers in your area and ask yourself, okay, what are these providers looking for? Are they looking for 3-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses, 5-bedroom houses? Are they looking for flats in the city centre? Ask them what they're looking for, okay? So once you know what they're looking for, you can start targeting properties in their requirements, okay? So say if the social housing provider told you they're looking for 3-bedroom houses, okay? Then you start looking for 3-bedroom houses and inquiring for those 3-bedroom houses on behalf of your company. Then after inquiring for a while, after getting your pitch right, your script right, you should have secured a viewing. Then after you view the property, you take the property on a good rent, make sure that the rent is good. Then you pass on the property to your provider. Then the equity from the rent that you're paying the landlord and the rent the provider is giving you is your net profit, and you're chilling out, you're not doing anything, no hustle, no nothing, just that passive income every single month. So it's the same thing for your HMOs. Once your company set up, start inquiring for properties in high demand HMO locations. I'm talking near city centres, I'm talking big cities, I'm talking near transport links, I'm talking near schools, I'm talking near hospitals. This is how you're going to make sure your room's filled. So the question you have to ask yourself for HMOs, how populated is my area? Okay, for example, Manchester here, Salford. Majority of my HMOs are in Salford. Salford is a very highly populated area, hence why that my rooms are mostly full. You may be saying, Destiny, how come you had 2 empty rooms in your spreadsheet? Those became empty last month, okay? The month before, months prior, they were all full, okay? That was the only last month's problem. So exactly the same thing as the social housing, we're inquiring for properties in high demand areas and subletting them room by room to individual tenants. The amount that individual tenants are paying you, take that away from the rent that you're paying the landlord and bills and utility bills, and that's your profit. Okay, you're looking at around £600 to £800 profit per HMO. And lastly, you've got your Airbnbs. As you know, landlord, you take on a property on behalf of your company, then you start staging, making sure the property is looking up to hotel standards, making sure you've got your systems in place, your smart locks, your cleaners, your everything in place. For your first property, be as hands-on as possible, but as you get more and more and more, get those automations in place. If you have multiple properties like me, then you give them to management companies to manage it on your behalf. I want to show you guys a quick trick with Airbnb is on how to know whether or not to invest in a specific location. So say if you go now, Airbnb, okay? Click on Airbnb. And I'm gonna put Manchester, Salford. There you go. 10th to 13th days don't really matter. Just put 4 guests. So what I want to be focusing on is the map. Okay, I'm not sure why it's in US dollars, but let's ignore that. So what this map essentially tells you guys is where you should invest. Okay, as you can see, the more I zoom in, the more I see properties. So say if you go on the open market and you see properties in these specific locations, that means you should invest in that property because these properties have done the research for you. Okay, but I wouldn't go and invest here because I don't see any properties. I wouldn't invest here because there's no properties. So that's just a quick tip I want to give to you guys on whether or not, you should invest in a specific location. So that's how the £10,720 I made last month is broken down. I'm not here to tell you guys that it's easy, but I'm here to say it's possible. You've seen exactly how I've done it. I'm 18 years old, it's nothing special. I'm not different to you guys watching, okay? I started at 17 a year and a bit ago, and did my record month of £10,720 last month, okay? So it's definitely possible. If I can do it, then you can too. Start by learning the basics, the step-by-step on how to do this. Take this video into account and study this video and use this video to get your very first deal. If you want my help, if you want my one-to-one guidance and me to guide you because you've seen how I've done it, then click below, Property Builders Academy, get yourself in there. That academy does not only consist of myself, but it consists of the person that mentored me, my business partner, Niven. Okay, he's been a landlord for over 20 years now. He's been in the game. He's gone through thin and thick. He's gone through every adversity to do at property. Okay, so we know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing in this avenue, in this business. There's no other property mentorship like the Property Builders Academy that goes through HMOs, social housing, Airbnb, and temporary accommodation. We're the only academy that does it all. I've not only made 10K from HMOs. I've not only made 10K from social housing. I've not only made 10K from Airbnb. I've done 7.5K from HMOs, 1.3K from social housing, and 2 grand from Airbnbs. We have perfected our craft in each and every single one of these property models, okay? I'm here to teach you, I'm here to hold your hand, and I'm here to get you that first deal. Sign up to the Property Builders Academy to get started now. See you in the next video.